This episode of Linux Gamecast Weekly was made possible by Patreons like you. Patreon.com/Linux Gamecast. Totally sounded like some PBS. Welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, what happens when a $29.99 early access game goes on sale for £2? Let's find out. And AMD has a quiet fan. Seriously, that somehow justified an announcement.
Link, he gets some apps, but will he save the Princess Zelda? And Unity releases a new Linux build, the end of the world to follow shortly.
Victor Fran gets another big-ass update. Still doesn't fix the one issue I have with it. I already cocked that up. And Mr. Aaron Plattner brings us a new beta. No more random Steam nopes for you.
I'm Vince Stone here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, joined every week by our tamed Canadian podcaster, a little herky-jerky this evening.
Sup, baby?
Sup, brah? No, wait,
Oh, hello!
It's nice and rainy, and together with Shatrel Dynamic joining us live, albeit a bit early this week, we do form that bit of a cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we'd like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. I have successfully converted 4 wet, stinky caches into a piece of paper for the Powerball.
After researching how to buy lottery tickets online.
That's absolutely legit. I had to do that. What's up, Jay, baby?
Oh, not much this week. Pretty dull. I can do this thing with my tongue, though. Never mind.
Well, I experienced food poisoning for the first time in my life.
That's always fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, all throughout Monday and Tuesday, the toilet was my very best friend.
I still maintain that I win in the case of food poisoning because I was projectile vomiting.
yeah, definitely. I only got the shits, so.
Yeah. I got the vomits and the shits. You gotta do the duck and turn.
What's the horse up to this week, baby?
The horse is trying to get the most out of its little underpowered legs. It's our Steamers!
Update!
Oh, we got a lovely little post here from the Steam community about the Steam Link. They have a new beta build out, and there's been a couple of updates since we've last covered it. They added the ability for 720p video output. And one of the interesting things that came in build 477 was they added support for Steam Link apps, whatever that might be. I mean, it makes sense. You have a set-top box, maybe have some other like video streaming software on there. But I'm curious to see if these are just going to be like wrapped Android apps or if they're going to just roll an entirely custom SDK, whatever.
Here's the thing. As it stands, all the Link does is run a hardware-accelerated VNC client that mirrors your PC's display. That's all it does. It doesn't run an ARM Steam client on its own, nor does it really do much of anything else. Now, with that in mind, what the hell is a Link app?
I don't know. It's kind of neat. I was looking at it and I was like, what's this thing? £50, right? And if you throw some Plex on that mother, that would be a very pricier version of my Chromecast. I don't know, but you got empty to tear into it, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I was actually curious to see what kind of capacity the Link had to run apps. So I went to our database administrator, Mr. Mike Tehan, who occasionally shows up on the show. He's in chat room right now, and asked him, "Hey, what is actually the hardware setup for the Steam Link?" And it's a single core ARM-v7 CPU clocked at just under a gigahertz with a quarter of a gig of RAM and some Vivante GC1000 specialized decode GPU and a couple other like specialty chips. So it's about on par with the first gen Raspberry, maybe a little bit stronger in the CPU department, but with 256 megs of RAM, there's not a lot of headroom to actually run some apps. I mean, I find that kind of ironic considering all the Raspberry Pi based Limelight setups that were being posted before the Link actually was a thing. It turns out that they're essentially using one themselves. But Ben, you brought up an interesting point that it's probably just going to be the app itself actually runs on a running PC, right?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, there's just going to be streaming, whatever type of app you have with your computer. But I absolutely see where you're coming from, because it's like, that's kind of a kludgy thing. You have your your gaming rig to stream to your TV as opposed to just a little low
it kind of
power.
defeats the purpose, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm still curious to know what they call a Link app.
They call it sales.
Well,
Yeah,
sale. All right, this is from medium.com/Steam Spy. This is the Medium section that covers Steam. Link to all of this stuff in our show notes. And they do some statistical analysis about Steam games, sort of confirm or deny theories that people have, like the best time to actually buy your games is during a sale, which is true. The summer and winter sales are the best time, specifically the winter sale, because those are when the prices tend to drop.
Mm-hmm.
They also do some analysis on the best-selling games for Steam. And going through those charts, I'm a wee disappointed about the lack of prevalence of games that run on like all three major operating systems, or at least Windows and Linux. Because most of these are Windows games. Occasionally you get your Arcs and your, I guess Besieged was on there, wasn't there at one point?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
Either way, there's not a lot. Most of these are Windows exclusive games, which I personally found a little disappointing.
Yeah, the only thing that really jumped out to me was the fact that when they show the actual numbers, best-selling game on Steam right now that's actually for sale is Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Neither GTA 5 nor Fallout 4 have been able to outsell it, if you only take Steam sales into account, because if you take the non-Steam sales as well, they probably have more.
So one thing I did notice though is that there were several games on those lists that actually had promised Linux ports, i.e. The Witcher 3 and Rocket League. If we had some of those, that would certainly help Linux gaming cause. Oh, yeah. But with so many big publishers being so vehemently anti-Linux, we're not going to be seeing a lot of forward motion in that space until at least Vulkan comes out.
But Jordan, are you alive?
With a Vive?
No, I'm dead.
Okay, yeah. Good.
No, this is from tomshardware.com. This is the big reveal about the HTC-vive de France.
It's a Cyclops.
Yeah. So MT was wrong, actually. He theorized a couple weeks ago that the big breakthrough that the Vive had was finger tracking, but they say in this article that the units that are going to ship don't have finger tracking. What they do have, though, is the front-facing camera sort of lets the little bits of reality bleed in, so you don't have to take the headset off if you want to move around, because you have a general impression of where things are in relation to where you are, which I thought was kind of interesting, especially for like driving games where you have a racing wheel or some.
Well, they kind of said that. I was watching the tested review with the Norm, and he did that nonsense, and they said what they were really focusing on with that little camera right there is currently, if you come to the edge of your perimeter with the Vive, it will give you, your holodeck grid thing. But on top of that, now this will also allow it to be like, seriously, fucking wall right here, Brad. Slam into it at your own risk.
Wham!
But and they also added a extra pad thing to the back that kind of transfers more of the weight to the back of your head organ.
Yeah, they have the over the head strap alongside the two going around your head.
But Pedro, do you think this will actually solve the fact that people really are not going to want to wear shit on their fucking heads?
Assuming it's still a pretty big ass headset, no.
Also, there's. I was just going to say, there's no mention of the price, too. And given the fact that Oculus just released theirs $600 and Notch realizing that he, in fact, does not have enough money to afford an Oculus Rift.
No, what Notch meant when he said that is he didn't have enough money to afford Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah. But, yeah, if they release it, let's see, HTC has already cornered part of the smartphone market. So they're not exactly aching for money. They might be able to sell it at cost, maybe?
We'll see. I mean, hopefully it works out, because HTC is not exactly in the best financial bracket right now.
Yeah, that's true.
So, maybe. But let's talk about Descent. More importantly, Descent Underground. That's right. You might have noticed I posted that, this game is currently like 30 wet stinky in early access. Well, it went on sale in, I think it was, Indie Gala?
Indie Gala for $2.
$2, yeah. And, a lot of people were upset that they, spent their 30 wet stinkies on the game and it was being away for $2. And being the responsible developers they are, They deleted and locked threads for anyone bitching about that. I mean, it was like, really, guys? Come on, you want to do that? But, you know, I would actually be more upset if I had spent 29.99 wet stinky caches on this early access game. Well, it is a bit pretty. You know, it has some issues. Brad.
Yeah, Ben and I gave it the business yesterday, actually.
Multiplayer against each other, that absolutely just works. If you try to play against a bot, it's not going to happen. It'll just freeze. There's a way around that, but it's not clear or anything. And they definitely, the Linux release cycle pretty much seems the bugs are getting fixed when Unity updates, and it just fixes their shit.
This one's Unreal, actually. UE4.
Yeah, sorry. UE4, that's absolutely what I meant. It's absolutely a shell of a game right now. I mean, it's a pretty one, but there is, you know, 0 single-player campaign, and it's 4 tiny, really pretty maps, and that's about it. I'd be kind of upset if I had spent that kind of money, P-Man.
Oh, yeah. It's... Okay, it's sort of competent, but the fact that you can't actually, you know, get a couple of bot matches going to practice before getting into the actual multiplayer and getting your ass send it to you repeatedly. If I had paid $30 for that, I would have refunded like almost instantly.
Well, I mean, the controls are pretty tight, and like the technical aspects of the game are there. It's just a matter of actual gameplay.
Right.
Yeah. But, speaking of tight controls, yes, it's Victor Fran. It's got another big ass patch. I mean, just look at that changelog. They have a lot of UI and controller usability improvements. You can also check your Turkish privilege at the door because they added those localizations there as well. They still haven't fixed the issue. That's the one issue I have with the game, is that if you exit the game, it'll re-enable the screensaver, or screen blanking, as it were. If you, let's say you went into the terminal, typed out X set S off. There, that disables the screensaver, and then you played the game, and then if you check the X set configurations after you've exited the game, there it is. It's enabled again. I've told him this. I have mentioned the fact that they literally only need to change or remove 2 lines of code in whatever bullshit check they have for the executable. When it closes, it re-enables the screensaver or the blanking, and they've outright ignored me. I don't know what the hell's up with that.
Well, it's good to see another big update for this, because, I mean, it's priced to sell 20 wet stinky caches, and we reviewed it a while back.
It's a fun-ass game. Yeah.
I mean, multiplayer. It is, yeah. And we all kind of had the misfortune because they gave us early access keys, and they've kind of redid the game. And
multiple character wipes, multiple progress wipes. It's always good.
Right. But something that is also in danger of getting wiped, that is Nekro from Dark Forge Games. The developer wrote back and saying, you know, what's the status for 2016? He's like, it's been a crazy year. Then we have the keywords like money, personal issues, and if you don't know what Nekro is, I mean, check it out. It is what would you call it?
It's a single player MOBA, pretty much.
Yeah.
Where you run around as a hero. You have some minions, and you go kill other minions and other monsters. It is pretty fun, and it's one of those very rare examples of an early access game that's actually like very well polished, and B, a Unity game that performs well.
It does. I mean, like one of the frightening things we're recommended curated for this.
We made it, you guys! We're finally famous.
Not to piss all over it. It originally had multiplayer support that has since been yanked. But when I see a note like this, the cynicism comes out in me, and just running that through the DBSotron 9000 through LGC, that reads like, you know what? I'm kind of done with this game, and maybe I'll change the version number to, 1.0 and ship it, but don't expect a whole lot. Plus, J-Man, this game can get killed by a bus, son.
Yes, it can. And the moral... This guy goes on in his blog post to explain that he is the single developer on this game. Now, folks, here is the moral of the story. You gotta raptor bus-proof your projects. If your developer gets hit by a raptor or eaten by a bus, you're fucked. So always have a backup. Programmer, artist, musician, podcast co-host. Isn't that right, Pedro?
Yeah. I'm nobody's backup. I am the backup.
Thank you, Ted. That was the joke.
Nekro is, well, at this point, I don't know, but it was a better early access game than just about everything else. It came out as an actual game that just needed some extra polish and some new features. That's what early access is supposed to be. Now, with these news, I'm not touching it until it gets released or the version number just changed to 1.0 or whatever, and I'll judge it then.
Hey Pedro, get fucked.
Nope. We're having none of that. So this is another. What did I say the notes?
Nope.
From the creator of other anime weeaboo porcelain doll shit comes a game about a 9-year-old girl who becomes the bitch of an ageless demon who wants her to keep it fed. Now here's the thing. The demon itself also looks like a 9-year-old girl. Yes.
I'd also like to bring up that they use the word Yuri in the description, so somebody's getting fucked. Oh yeah.
That's the implication here, yeah. So apparently the blonde girl is the demon, because she has a black tail with a heart at the end. I don't...
Keep taking that whole picture.
This is one of those visual novels that I don't know.
Why don't you take a seat, Pedro? Take a seat.
It's right over there.
I am.
Doesn't require an operating system run, just an x86 or x86 64. So that's pretty high technology. It's currently 15% off. That's 8.49 wet stinky caches. And that we covered it. There, done. Up next, ponies.
Up next is I was afraid this was going to happen. You see, with the raging success that was Undertale and the Beginner's Guide, in a sense, and even before that, what was it called? Stanley's Parable. It was
that is frighteningly similar to my mating ritual.
let me sing you the song of my people.
It was bound to happen that these games with all the meta stuff, not to, spoil much of anything, but this is one of those meta games like your Undertales and your Beginner's Guides. And I did not want this to happen because this one doesn't look particularly good in comparison to those two I just mentioned. And if you want to pay $5 to find out, go right ahead. But
yeah, it's an abstract game about an abstract game designed by Satan. Make of that what you will.
Well, Luke Starkiller, I got some bad news.
Was that Admiral Snack Bar?
It's a trap.
Oh my god! Even though Leia was the first person to actually say that in Star Wars. No, this is shit, Link, what is this? Nebula Online. Yeah, it's an early access game. And these guys have a bit of an ambitious goal here. They want to have cross-platform multiplayer on Mac, Linux, Windows, iOS, Android, Windows Phone, NetBSD, Haiku, RISC-OS, and Plan 9.
Oh, shit. I gotta give you
bite-sized
Snickers.
Of course. But it's quite ambitious considering the controller disparity across all of those platforms. And I wonder, this game sort of, based on the description, based on the trailer, it sort of looks like an EVE Online type thing where you control your spaceship and you go around and you pew pew, and it looks to be a lot like EVE without the spreadsheet nonsense. But I really have to wonder, though, as part of the game balance strategy, are the controls gimped on every single platform so that we're all on equal playing fields?
Yeah, that levels the playing field. Yeah.
The controls, like, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah, very, very ambitious, but I mean, if you want to try it out, I didn't see it in the Play Store, but if you have an iOS type device, I think it's free in the Apple's own web of stores.
Oh, and we have to pay $5 on Steam. Why?
Raisins, son, raisins.
Microtransactions.
All right, we'll transact our ass right out of this into the news.
Yeah. Coming up next, Aaron Plattner debates drivers with people on Google+, and AMD decides that they want to be cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, yeah, you guessed it, it's the news. Well, not exactly. First, we're going to be talking about our Patreons. Those crazy people that keep giving us money.
Speaking of news, we got some new Patreons. That's clever, right? Yeah, we got Stony Fish and Nehemiah D. We got Chris D who upped, and we got a $3.50 a month donation from Alexander R from PayPal. Because remember, if you don't feel like signing up for the Patreons and you have a PayPal account, you can squeak on over to linuxgamecast.com/podcast. We got some donato buttons and a lovely Amazon affiliate link. But the most important thing to know is that we love and appreciate your support from the bottom of that pitch black hole we have in our chests, where that thing that pumps blood normally is on most carbon-based entities.
Well,
it's brilliant
there, man. They jiggered the numbers, and they changed things around. But we are 29.30, so what's less than $6 away from P-Man and I doing Linux Gamecast weekly daily Wednesdays.
Oh yeah,
that's
and if you want to throw a dime at our heads, we won't complain.
That's what we're talking about. Like 5 cents a show, man. 20 cents a month. I know it'd be a little bit of a pain in the ass. Trust me, it took me a long time to get around to doing Patreon. And I was like, but this is a brilliant idea. Because I was donating to the shows I watch, because I pretty much watch, podcasts and stuff like that. And then I was like, maybe we should try that too. Maybe people, want some of that value for value. And one thing we did for our Patreons last night, Jordan and I, we were way behind, really horribly behind, was our Portal 2 series. So we have a lot of those coming up. But we took some substances and played with portals. It was a good time. But let's get into that news.
Yes, and as usual, we start our news segment with some drivers. This time around, it's the new beta, the 361.16 for NVIDIA. Mr. Aaron Plattner himself made the announcement, and apparently they moved some libraries around, and they've updated the installer to run ldconfig and depmod when it uninstalls the old version instead of only after it finishes installing the new version. So now it does them on both of those occasions. One of the things that they didn't mention, Jordan brought up in the notes, was that they didn't exactly highlight the fact that they fixed the fact that Steam was crashing.
No, but I was getting some pretty bad crashes when we were recording Trine 2 this past week. So I decided to give that a shot. I pulled the drivers, installed them, and lo and behold, Steam stopped crashing. One of the interesting things that came out of this release, though, is they're starting to implement the GLNVD, which basically would allow multiple OpenGL drivers to exist simultaneously on a system if you're running a bunch of disparate different video cards. This is only initial support. That is what Pedro was mentioning by moving stuff around. They've also split out VDPAU from the driver installed. Now you're supposed to get it from your distro, or you get it from Aaron Plattner's freedesktop.org page. So that's all good.
And I absolutely confirm over here on the because we were all having the spite crash with Steam. It was like, nope. I mean, to the point where you're questioning your sanity. It's like, didn't I open Steam early? Maybe, I don't know. Updated that on the Ubuntu using their PPAs, and works like a charm. What were we saying, P-Ben?
Yeah, one of the things I tested, because it's something I do whenever a new driver version comes out, I run Unigine Heaven and Unigine Valley, and the benchmarks were within the 2 FERPs variant, so nothing much to mention there. They both increased, I'll give them that, over the past driver version, but yeah, it's within those 2 FERPs of variants, so yeah.
All right, that's pretty hot. And wow, this somehow warranted a announcement from AMD. He says questionable.
It spins.
They put a bigger fan on their Wraith cooler. I'm Stargate Atlantis.
Better heat pipes. More contact.
And here's Jordan demoing it, right? No, I'm sorry, that's the old one.
That's the old one. Because with all their underperforming CPUs, I haven't really found the need to buy an AMD CPU recently. No, but I mean, if you want something cool and quiet, and you don't feel like waiting for this to come out, I can't do anything but recommend the Noctua what the hell is this called? It's like an LN. It's a low profile thing. I have one on my Steam box, the NHL9A or the L9i if you're on an Intel system.
Yes, which
great
is
little
$55 worth of heatsink.
Low profile. Yeah, $55 worth of low profile heatsink. That's actually pretty good. It keeps the APU well under 40 degrees, and since that has Iridion,
the thing is, the new heatsink that they showed up is awesome. You know, comparatively speaking, it's pretty good. That little aluminum block that you had in your hand there, Jordan.
Bruh, the AMD thing lights up, bruh. Yellow swag, Dorito, AMD.
Oh, yeah, it goes.
And if they sell the new one separately, I might actually get one for the Steam box.
It might be a thing. I mean, it definitely needed some improvement. The heatsink that Jordan was holding up, I guess he might still be. Yeah, that thing, that was on my 8150, and until I replaced it.
And my 8370.
And I could definitely tell all the way when I'm trying to finish this fucking sentence. All right, there we go. And I could definitely tell when the show was done rendering on Sundays because I could hear the damn thing here in the studio, and I could hear it. But yeah, this might be good for the Zen chipsets. Hopefully they're going to run a lot cooler. But I think we've all pretty much went out and bought our Hyper 212s. So.
Yeah, and I mean for a $35 heatsink, it curb stomps a lot of shit.
Right,
but. The folks at Fail Overflow have been at it again. Who said that 3D drivers for the PS4 wouldn't happen anytime soon? Well, we didn't. We said that it's running a APU that's supported under Mesa, so probably wouldn't take that long. And lo and behold, they have the Mesa drivers up and running on the PlayStation 4 using their jailbreak. Now, it's not really a huge surprise, like I said. But one interesting consequence of this, and a coworker of mine brought this up. He says, a jailbroken PS4 with Linux running on it would be a pretty decent, cheap computer for people who are on a budget, considering you can pick one up for a trip.
Assuming Vulkan will help with the performance in the future, an 8-core APU Steam box is pretty damn awesome for $300.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waiting on the benchmarks, and looks like we'll be seeing stuff like that sooner than later. But speaking of some indirect 3D news, Strider over in the forums because he just can't deal with not knowing things. It was shown a while back when, what was it, Alienware, I mean Dell.
Alienware.
Yeah, they were running, and there was a big snafu because they were showing it with a direct X11 render, and it was like, oh, no, we were using the indirect X, and P-Man, we talked to Not Brad about that, and they never got back to us with anything.
Yeah, Not Brad, aka Nick. I sent him an email when the whole indirects thing started showing up and people were talking about it, and he said he didn't really know any of the specifics of the porting technologies, but that he'd get back to me with any info he might garner from the porting team. Suffice it to say, it's been a couple of months and he still hasn't gotten back to me.
Well,
and I mean,
it's definitely a thing. I mean, Hopper, he put it in a disassembler, and there it is, clear as night. DirectX 3DX, it's basically their own version of Toggle, right?
Yeah, it makes sense that they'd be using a compile time abstraction layer, just because writing an entirely new OpenGL renderer from scratch in a reasonable time frame for a new game that's come out it would be basically impossible. So you write a tool that at compile time takes all the DirectX code, cross compiles it to OpenGL, and there you have it. It makes sense. I mean, Valve had to do that before they started having full OpenGL support and full Vulkan support on their Source 2 engine. The Source engine had to use 2GL. So
yeah,
what can you do? But
really not much.
Yeah. It's time to grab your balls. This is Metroid Construction. And this is Super Metroid Rotation Beta. The links to all this stuff is in the show notes. But essentially what they've done is they've taken Super Metroid and they've rotated it 90 degrees. And you go through the game like that. Now, apparently, it's actually not that bad. It's still relatively playable, though there is a point where you need to do an infinite bomb jump fairly early on. So if you have a macro keyboard, it's for the win. It's a neat little project, and it runs under the Linuxes. So that is certainly a thing to check out if you like your Super Metroids and you want to try something a little different.
It's for your emulators, plus it's a SNES emulator. You pick the one you like best, and give this a go. I mean, a lot of work went into that, getting everything flipped around, and I watched some of the videos that will be in the link in the show notes. It's like, nope, nope, I don't hate myself that much. But it's just neat, man.
It is, but you know what else is neat? And I feel like I keep saying this. I would have lost this bet too.
Oh yeah, this is Tack, aka Mr. Levi Bard, and there is a new Unity build out for Linux to ring in the new year. It's a couple minor updates. They're updating to Unity version. What is this 522 F1?
This is going to be 531. When they did the Windows update to 531.
Yeah, I'm looking.
It was not well received. It was even more spike crashy than normal. And considering Unity on Linux is kind of a little spike crashy, you know, you try to attach a screen. Nope. And it'll do all that. I didn't get a chance to play around with it too much. I just want to know if it still shites itself when I'm dealing with the AABB errors. You know, with the active but empty particle system, which was like a huge issue a lot of people had when this first came out for the Windows. I mean, the operating system, he shall not be named.
Mac OS, RISC-OS. No, but I mean, it's good that they are continuing to support this, considering that Unreal 4, despite the fact that it's a little crashy as well, is running on Linux. The community got that up and running fairly quickly after they dumped the source code. But, I mean, hey, I didn't expect them to go on this long, so good on them for that.
Yeah, more options, right?
Yeah, more options.
A lot more options since, you know,
a reason to actually develop your game under Linux.
All right.
And, UE4 is still pretty crashy, too.
Yep. Yeah. So, but you know what else crashes? Well, not McDROID, but its network stack does. We're going to talk about it next in the CHAIRQUISITION. We're throwing chairs at it. It's from Elephantopia Games. It's a Unity game. You can buy it for about $20 at your local regional currency, but it's 75% off, so you can grab it for $5 until the 19th of Janvier. And what is it? A super frantic arcade tower defense McDROID starts gently, then progressively challenges your trigger finger, not unlike several dominatrixes I've met, and your wits, and your sanity as you multitask, like a robotic spider doggy thing. Running, shooting, building base, hurting, healing, harvesting, repairing, planting, upgrading, researching, trying to frying giant snail hammer things with a giant Nikola Tesla on your back. As in, like, you have a Serbian gentleman on your back throwing rocks at these things. Yeah, whatever. We've actually reviewed this before back when it was in beta 13, but it's been released. So it's time it faces the CHAIRQUISITION. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's all right. And 4 chairs means that it's amazeballs. We also got a Categories of Doom mixed with the working shiny scowns, controls, and bleh. So does this game make with the horking, Ben?
All right, brother Quang. Let's see. How does it run on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS? 980 powered 4K displayed box of business. Performance is, not that great, even at 1080p. Kind of struggles to hit 60 frames with any type of regularity. And at 2160p, aka UHD, it will often drop to, 20, high 20s. Not really, it's playable, but it's kind of with the herky-jerkies. But all I can say is I absolutely do have to ding this a chair for the makes for the working, because if you have an Xclone controller plugged in, which I just in infinite wisdom decided to get rid of my USB hub up front and plug everything into the back, and I was like, well, I'm not unplugging that for this. It will disable some of your keyboard, your E and F buttons for planting strawberries and selecting levels, little things like that. So you kind of got to track down some bits to make that work, but I'll talk more about that in the control section. So I'm going to give this 3 chairs out of the box.
Much the same as Ven on the Fedora 22 powered Intel 6700 Ki7, the GTX 980 with the NVIDIAs and the 4Ks. I was running it at 4K, and yeah, it chugs along. You, on average, get about 30 FPS. I didn't knock it down to 1080, but I do recall that it was not as great back in the beta days. I'm gonna ding it a chair though, because network multiplayer is a wee busted, and for a game that is advertising multiplayer as a feature, that's maybe something you might want to have on lock, Brad. So 3 chairs for that.
Yeah, I didn't run into the issue that Ven did with having the controller plugged in. I had the NVIDIA Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. controller plugged in the whole time, and it didn't mess with it. Now, it may have something to do with the fact that instead of, using the actual keyboard for E and F, I was using the mouse. I don't know. It's Unity. You never know. But yeah, on the FX 8370E with the GTX 970 Strix running on Fedora 23 64-bit, I didn't have any issues. So 4 chairs.
All right, so that's 3 chairs for Mix with the working. Up next is Shiny and the Farts. Ben, did it fart?
Did it fart? I don't know. You got to really think about how far we've come. Not with farts, but graphical fidelity and the amount of games that we currently have on. Shut up. On Linux. When this game was first released, the alpha version, around 2013-ish, it looked amazeballs for a Linux title. Fast forward to 2016, yeah, maybe not so much. That's not to say it's fugly by any measure. In fact, the cartoonish, cel-shaded aesthetic looks a bit of alright. Hell, some might even say it holds up. The bright colors and detailed environments are a nice change from the bog-standard hipster pixel tower defense games of late. However, the anti-aliasing is so horrid, I want to call it rubbish, but that would be an insult to rubbish. When it comes to the sounds, the retro soundtrack works for what it is, and, the limited voice acting beep-boop business like that, borderline entertaining. They definitely have a sense of humor in this game and about themselves. I respect that about Elephantopia. Playing it at 2160, 4K, UHD, menu text, borked, son. I mean, it's all out of whack, and, when they were originally coming up with this game, they were not expecting, I was not expecting to have a 28-inch 4K displayed box of business in front of my eye organs. But it's all right. I mean, it works. It looks and it sounds. It's not going to blow you away in 2016. We'll give it 2 chairs, I think, justly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I personally found the voice acting a little bit annoying. Oh, who's your spaceship? Oh, he's a good space. I don't give a shit, man. Shut up. Especially when it actually makes you sit through this guy speaking before you can actually get to the gameplay. The graphics, like Ven said, are nice and cel shaded.
We already have an episode called Shell Shaded, so we can't have that.
Okay, that's fine. But either way, not everything is cel shaded though, so that can be a little jarring. It's mostly stuff in the background though. But most of the actual custom sprites and custom models for this game are cel shaded. Well, the music, I didn't really notice it, so I can't really comment onto whether it was, contributing to the overall experience or not. So overall, really, there's nothing wrong with this game, but it's nothing to write home about either. It's fairly middle of the road, so it gets the middle of the road score of 2 chairs.
Yeah, there's a slight bug with the sprites in that the alpha channel in those sprites that's supposed to, give it a transparent background so you could overlay it on top of anything and not mess with anything else. Yeah, at render time, it's being displayed on the exact same layer as the post-processing. So you get a really nice shadow effect or a really nice Sunshaft giggity. And what you're going to see is that shadow or that Sunshaft or whatever post-processing effect is in that area. When the sprite comes up, there's going to be a square of transparency just showing you the background. And it's kind of jarring. But outside of that, the graphics are good enough, and the cel shading will ensure that it'll hold up for years to come. I'm not complaining about the sounds. We get our share of non-voice acted games when they clearly benefited from it, and, well, this game didn't exactly need it. It's a nice touch. So it gets 3 chairs from me.
All right. One thing I did forget to mention, though, is that there's some issues with texture mapping in this game as well, because oftentimes you can see little bits of wireframe poking through. But that's 2 chairs for Shiny and the sounds. Up next is the control. Then, How did you fare with unplugging your Xbox controller?
No, I didn't have to do that, Brad, because it clearly states QWERTY only and gamepad not supported in the Linux system requirements. So I can't ding it a chair for that. But having to hunt down the plus disable gamepad on launch argument to put into the Steams, to make the damn thing work, it's not a good start, Brad. It really isn't. And more importantly, that will cause your average Arch user to issue an instant refund. And that's just a little free pro tip of LG Seekers. This is the second game that Ravenscry breaks controls if a gamepad is plugged in. It's mind-boggling how that can even be a thing. Yes, Vin, there's a button on the menus that says you... Doesn't work. You actually have to put that command in. That'll be in the notes if you're looking for it. You do have to do some searching for it. That said, the keyboard and gerbil layout, logical, it's fine, it works. Once you get everything going, it's tower defense, so you can't really bash it. I mean, if you manage to fuck up the controls on something like that, you're at a whole new level that we haven't even seen. But I'm going to give it a solid 3 chairs for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't try it with any controllers or the Steam controller or anything like that. I just used keyboard and mouse because that's how I know how to play this game. And everything is all nice and logically laid out. My one gripe with it, though, is the camera will fuck you on occasion. And I would have rather preferred that the camera controls were somewhere on the keyboard rather than using right click and spinning around. Because when you're trying to, get a good angle on a bunch of enemies heading towards your turrets, and at the same time target specific people, it doesn't really quite work all that well. But beyond that, everything is relatively sanely mapped, so I'll give it 3 chairs.
And for me, well, the first thing, oh yeah, it's McDROID. It's a Unity game, so chances are my Logitech F310 will be recognized, because most Unity games do. They see it as a regular old Xbox 360 controller. So I installed it on the Steam box. Nope. The only key that it registered was the start button. And I'm like, okay. So it claims to have full controller support, but it very clearly does not. But then Ven was like, yeah, they say on the store page that the gamepad is not supported solely for the keyboard. Well, fine, I'll install it here. So I did, and I was looking at because the first thing I do whenever I start a game is I go to the options menu, to the controls, and I start rebinding keys. And I'm looking around, I can't rebind controls. Now, thankfully, the dev, seriously, thank you for that. He mirrored WASD into the directional arrow keys on the keyboard, so I could at least move around. And since I have the Rocat Kova Plus mouse, I have these 2 thumb buttons here. As the front one is E and the backwards one is F. So I could use those for most of the stuff, and it worked. The one button I could never use was the jump button, because that is set to the space bar, and I usually use the middle mouse click as the jump. But since I couldn't rebind the keys, well, guess that's not going to happen. 2 chairs.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for controls. And finally, we got our fun segment. Ven, did you enjoy McDROID?
Well, Brad, it's tower defense, and let's be honest with ourselves, gentlemen, that's nothing new. That's not necessarily a bad thing if you consider tower defense the second coming of the baby Jesus, but at 19.99 wet stinky caches, it's a tough sell. Once the novelty of collecting strawberries and upgrading your Tachikoma wears off, things get repetitive with a quickness, and that's not to say it isn't challenging, since it becomes fuck you hard later on. Full disclosure, one interesting feature is being able to invite your mates to help you sort some of the levels that just fucked you over. But as we found out the other night, that can be a little hit or miss. If you're watching the produced version of that, you might be seeing that. And speaking of that multiplayer, yeah, it's a ghost town. Our online adventure literally, genuinely made up 3/4 of the player base. And when I say 3/4, I mean there were 4 people online, and 3 of us. That was us. So,
well, one of them was the developer, so...
No, right, fair enough, fair enough. Is it boring? No, it's not boring. Does it bring anything new to tower defense? Not really. It's pretty. you could have some fun with it. 75% off. I would say pick it up, maybe play it for a little bit, but don't rely on multiplayer. I mean, that's kind of what I want to say. I mean, if it had a larger community to play with, giggity, he said, it would. I mean, if all three of us playing it, we had an all right time. Of course, we were discussing other things, but we were getting the business done. So it's not busted. It's not great. I'm going to have to give it 2 chairs with an Astro, and that's the best I can do.
Yeah, I mean, they've certainly upped the difficulty from the last time I played this game, because a couple of levels are like, holy shit, what the fuck, I can't multitask that much. But, I mean, it still doesn't change the fact that I think tower defense games are boring as all hell. I do not find them entertaining in the least, and this game will not change your mind. I mean, I would have given it 1 chair, but I can see what they're doing. I respect that they actually put some time and effort into this game. They actually applied some thought to the game mechanics, and everything is, from like a technical standpoint, all the pieces are there if you are into tower defense. It's really just not my type of game. One thing I did find weird though was I think they're implying that Michael Jackson is Jewish in this. I don't know. You can go to that stage and see for yourself.
And invisible.
But yes, that was the big thing though. Like for network multiplayer, if you're playing the zombie level, the zombies were only showing up for Pedro because he was the host, and we actually got to a point where we could not actually win the level because everyone was dead because we just kept shooting at things blindly and everyone died. So again, they really need some multiplayer fixing on that. But beyond that, it's for a tower defense. It's harmless. 2 chairs.
Yeah, there's very clearly been a lot of work put into this game, and it's a work of love. It's just not my love. It takes a special kind of sauce to get me interested in a tower defense game nowadays. It's a genre that's been done, and it's been done really well. For me, Orcs Must Die is still like right there at the top when it comes to tower defense. And unfortunately, it's not the case with McDROID. McDROID is mediocre. It has a few issues, and it has a few things that it does well, but neither are worthy of bothering your parents with, actual physical mail, as in, nothing to write home about. Remember last week when I said that Bound by Flame was the kind of mediocre that I enjoyed? McDROID is the opposite kind. 2 chairs.
Yes, and much like a sore Mr. Terry Welsh, McDROID gets 2 chairs on the fun and 2 chairs for the final score. Hi, Terry, how's it going? Yeah, it sucks to get 2 chairs when your game doesn't really appeal to the people reviewing it. It's all right. Final thoughts?
Again, I just wish the multiplayer was. I would feel justified in saying even at 75% off, which it currently is at $4.99. Pick it up. The only way I could suggest doing that is if you buy the 4-pack for your friends, because they're going to be the only ones playing it. Single player, it just gets boring and just repetitive. I want to give them a little extra love because they actually use the word batshit crazy on their description in the store. Good on you, Dobbs. You're kind of awesome for doing that. And it was made, what predates Steam, predates Desura, and then they were, experimenting with the Linux support, and we kind of wish it worked better because we did help them, with getting this up and running. That's all I got. P, baby?
Yeah, that's the thing. With all the time that at least you and I both spent playing around with the betas and the alphas and everything, and giving the guys at Elephantopia some, feedback and bugs and whatever else we could find. It sucks. It sucks that it only gets 2 chairs and it's not really fun, as it were. But hey, $5 if you like tower defense. This is your type of thing.
Yeah, definitely give it a shot if you're into tower defense. I really agree with Ben 100%. Some actual solid multiplayer gaming could have saved this, but unfortunately it wasn't quite up to snuff. Up next, though, we talk about the relevancy of running Eon games and also how to insert 30 minutes of video at the end of a hour-long podcast.
37. Oh no! What time is it? It's the hate mail! Yes. And if you're paying attention while we do this, you probably already know how to get in touch with us. And again, if you're paying attention while we do this, you're probably the only one, because I sure as hell don't. That's why I keep cocking up. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, LinuxGameCast.com, contact button, fill the form. It's easy. If you want to promote your game, send us some keys, send them some prototypes, betas, alphas, whatever you want to call them. We'll talk about it. Otherwise, we'll make fun of you. So, what do we have up this week?
We got some Saints, because we're being ratified for being terrible homeless people. No, this is from James, and he says, I played Saints Row 4 a couple years ago when I still had a Windows partition. I use a higher-end Intel plus NVIDIA 780 Ti system that ran Saints Row the 4th on ultra settings at about 32 to 52 FPS in heavy action. That works fine to me. Plus, Saints Row the 4th loaded my old save when I played in Windows and was able to continue and finish up the challenges, etc. The first time loading the save took quite a while, I'm assuming for some sort of conversion compilation, but since then it loads quick. That's good for you.
It's a virtual programming quote-unquote port. I'm not going to touch it. In fact, I touched it and then immediately refunded it.
It works because it's the same game that's running on Windows. Shock. But yeah, no, I mean, good for you. I actually do need to sit down because I greatly enjoy the Saints Row series, and I'm genuinely curious about Get Out of Hell. Though I'm pretty sure that's also an Eon wrapper, which breaks my heart. Then you got any thoughts on this whatsoever?
You know, we never said it didn't run, but I'm sorry, Eon ports. If you think, you just move. Go back and look at the reviews. They've been porting Mac games janky as hell a lot longer than they've been porting Linux games janky as hell. I don't care if it was 100% native, it would still have that virtual programming jank in it. And that's never a good thing. Glad it's working for you, and that's brilliant. I just don't like how they handle shit. I mean, ever since The Witcher 2, haven't really gotten over that. I'm a stubborn cuss, but...
Strider actually brings up a good question. Why do they keep getting to port all the good games? Because they're the cheapest.
You are playing games ported by the lowest bidder, son. So, up next, Lawrence. He's on sale. Hey guys, just a heads up, McD's. It's on sale $4.99 for 2 weeks. Some new levels too. One with zombies where you can save the people. Cheers, Lawrence.
But they're invisible, though.
Wait a second.
You can't save what you can't see.
This is the developer, isn't he?
I mean, that's what happens with LinuxGameCast, man. We talk to the developers and we do dope shit.
You sold out.
No, I mean, he sent me that fucking email and said, hey, man, check this out. Doing that. That's kind of why we did the review, just all right, fuck it. You got an update, you got some new levels, let's put it through the chairs. And they've always been cool cats. So there you go. There's your plug. Check it out. Go back and watch the review if you somehow just only watch the hate mail.
And just a point of order before we move on. We talked about these guys' game because they actually have a Linux build, guys. Pay attention.
And they sent us keys.
Hell, man, they sent us the Sura keys back in
yeah, long ago. But yeah, last one comes from Fuzzy, and he's talking about sneaking around. FYI, looks like someone stitched half an hour of silent gameplay after end of the podcast.
Shut up.
Didn't happen. I mean, you're seeing things, Fuzzy. Yeah, totally my fault. I'll fucking own that. If you're familiar with any type of video editing, you work with layers, you can time down. And when we're doing the review, Pedro recorded like 60 fucking hours of gameplay, as he is one to do.
60 minutes.
And that's at the bottom track. Then I got through and I was editing. Then I was stitching the hate mail, and I put the bow on it at the end, and I hit render. It's about 3/4 of the way done. It takes about an hour and a half. I scroll and it's like, fuck. All right. We're not re-rendering that because it's already late, but I took that out of the MP3 podcast, so there's not
Yeah,
30 minutes
having
of
like
dead air.
37 minutes. Of
Or
nothing.
but you know what we should have done? We should have had like the hidden track of like Ben singing "Springtime for Hitler" or something like that. If you sit through the 37 minutes, you get a little treat. It's like that Weird Al album "Off the Deep End," where he just screams in the microphone for about 30 seconds if you don't turn off the CD player.
Hey, I'll be honest, I watched all the way through it because I am a bit of a narcissist, and I like watching myself playing video games.
And yeah, absolutely my fault. And I should have put 2 and 13 together, because I do remember walking back in the studio going, why is this taking so long to render? And ta-da! And on that bombshell, let's cue the music, because you can always find us around normally 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon Time East Coast. In the U.S., a bang, 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 freedom sauce. I'm Ben Stone, cleverly disguised, at Vin Stone on the Twitternets, plus Vin Stone on the G+.
You can find me in Canada, aka the United States of Canada, at the Burning Fool on Twitter, plus Jordan Svung on Google+.
And I'm in the United States of whatever third world kind of business we got going on here in Portugal. It's raining as balls, but I will always be Pedro Mateus. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter, or plus Pedro Mateus on Google+.
And let's just hope Pedro dies in a rainy, lightning fire because of storms.
Yeah.
Right?
if I lost it. May God strike me down with lightning otherwise. That's what I was trying to get to. Fuck.
He failed miserably on that one.
Well, I mean, your people did kill his son.
True dat. True dat.
5 dudes.
Hashtag 5 dudes.